Hi, welcome to 15 Minutes of Fame. I'm Geoffrey Driscoll. With me, as always, is Jim Kerr. I write for anysportanytime.ca, and you can always check out Kersey's blog at kerseysblog.blogspot.com. So we're going to get right into it, Jim. Well, the Quebec arena proposal, the provincial government is willing to put half the money, and they're asking the federal government to put up the other half for a private, basically an arena in Quebec. What's the deal with that?
As far as I know, I pay my taxes.
That's right.
I'll have to speak to my personal banker about that. But I don't know. They want to. We're going to get into this a bit later, but I think it's political wrangling.
Yeah.
But so the Quebec provincial government says we'll put up half the money for this $400 million project to get a rink in Quebec City, so that there's the potential for maybe the NHL possibly,
eventually,
at some point, returning to Quebec City. The NHL has come out and said the NHL will not return there until there's a modern rink. So this is kind of a, they're trying to start out that project, but the provincial government's going to put up $180 million.
Yeah.
They're urging the federal government to put up $180 as well. And so the project will be 90% funded privately, or publicly. Yeah, it should be privately.
Exactly, 10% privately. Is this a ploy for Quebec votes from a conservative government?
That's all I've heard. It has to be.
It has to be.
Why else?
But it's such, for me, it's pandering to the nth degree, and it's almost too much pandering. That can it really be that bad?
Well, here's how you know it's political.
Yeah.
In Quebec, they need the votes. In Alberta, where the Tories do not need the votes, they say Edmonton and Calgary will get no money, which I don't really have that big of a problem with, because,
it's a private sports team, yeah.
But, you got one province giving out $180 million, and our province says no. Our province, our provincial government doesn't really need the votes. There's not really any tough opposition. In Quebec, that's not the case. But the interesting thing is the federal government hasn't said no.
They certainly didn't come out straight out and said no. They've kind of been going, oh, maybe.
They're thinking about it.
Yeah.
But what's good about that is that Harper has said, if we give money to Quebec City, we pretty much have to give money to the other
that's my question.
Projects around the country.
If they do get the money, does that mean we get the money?
I doubt it'll be $180 million.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, we're looking at a $400 million price ticket here at Edmonton for a new arena.
Yeah.
$180 million is a lot of money, especially to two places. What if Winnipeg wants to redo theirs? Hamilton, right?
Well, you think even the Saskatchewan Roughriders are looking at building a new stadium. The BC Lions are renovating theirs. You think, could we get this money retroactively?
Exactly.
But you think of any number of projects going around, and then, maybe not even limited to sports teams. What if it's another organization altogether saying, well, we're building this, can we have money? We're doing blank.
Well, it's to increase taxes and increase, people, I don't know, enjoying themselves in sports. Well, I can host a mean bocce tournament in the back of my backyard.
It's true.
So, should I get the federal government to give me $180 million or whatever, half the money for my house?
Jeff, if I was Prime Minister,
see,
you bet,
that's
buddy.
fantastic.
Can I count on your vote?
Yeah, of course.
See, that's how you do it.
That's how you do it. That's exactly how you do it. So, big news with the Edmonton Eskimos of the CFL. The floundering Edmonton Eskimos, as we talk right now, they're 2-8. Probably going to be 2-9 here by the time you watch this. They've hired ex-Saskatchewan Roughriders GM Eric Tillman. First of all, short run. What does this mean for the Eskimos in the short run?
From a football standpoint, it should be good. Eric Tillman's a proven GM. He's won 3 Grey Cups. As Maurice Lloyd of the Eskimos said this week, he should have won 4, but people can't count.
People can't count,
as we all know. From a football standpoint, it should be a great move.
Yeah.
Any changes that were needed have been made so far. I mean, Richie Hall still got a job for now, and I'm fine with that. But from a football standpoint, Eric Tillman was the best guy available, from all accounts, and I think it'll work out fine. He says he's going to take it slow for the rest of this season, kind of get a feel for the team, and figure out what needs to be done, and then make moves in the off season. So.
Does he have a leash here? Does he have some time? Like, let's talk about it in the long run. Does Tillman have the time to really pull an Edmonton Oilers and start? Well, we'll see, but and start at the beginning. You know, start through drafting, and maybe he's got 5 years before he's in trouble again.
Well, I don't know if there's necessarily like a 5-year timeline, but you have to give him. You have to give him the rest of this season. You have to give him most of next season, I would assume. Yeah. If we're 2-8 at this time next year, maybe it's time to say, well, this isn't working out.
That's right.
I don't think that'll be the case, but you have to give him the rest of this season to figure out where we're at, and then see what happens in the off season.
Well, I mean, we'd be remiss to talk about Tillman without bringing in the personal side of it. And, you know, Tillman was charged with sexual assault. He had his absolute discharge there. What does this mean for the Edmonton Eskimos and the community side of things? I mean, the Eskimos are big in the Edmonton community, and you know, what's going on there?
Well, there has been opposition to the decision. And that's, yeah, I did not expect that.
Right.
But in his press conference, Eric Tillman, and I liked the way he handled it. He said, you know, it's no one's responsibility to forgive me.
That's right.
And I think obviously that's fair, but he said it's up to him to try and re-earn the respect that he had. And you know, he has the support of the family, the victim's family. He has the support of his family, the Eskimos. You know, he's part of the Eskimos family now, and I think there was a bit of a backlash, but as long as he keeps his nose clean, I think it'll be fine.
That's right.
There were organizations in the city that spoke out on the day of the hiring, but you know, I don't think anyone didn't see that coming.
No.
And I think the best thing he can do is just try and be as good a citizen of Edmonton as he can, and
that's right.
I think it'll be fine.
Well, we'll see how it goes. You know, this is a good point. This is a good part. Why don't you chime in on what you think about Eric Tillman being hired as the GM? Feel free to leave comments, and maybe if one of them's good enough, we'll bring it up the next 15 minutes of fame.
That'll be your prize.
That'll be your prize.
Yeah.
We'll bring it. We'll
grand prize trip for one to the Jeff Driscoll Studios.
Yeah, there we go. Or
in spirit.
In spirit, we'll bring up your name, and you'll be famous. Like us.
You'll get your 15 minutes of fame.
You'll get your 15 minutes of fame.
There you go. Well, a couple seconds anyways.
Well, yeah.
Better than nothing.
Better than nothing.
Okay? All right.
Good talk. Let's talk about the Edmonton Oilers, and, well, training camp opens this week. The previous week we've had the Young Stars Tournament, the inaugural Young Stars Tournament, and some of our guys, Hall, Eberle, and PRV, have played pretty well. Let's talk about first what your feelings are on Sheldon Souray. Sheldon Souray was showed up. He was training with the Oilers here in Edmonton, and he was asked politely, or maybe not politely, behind closed doors, to not show up for training camp. Let's just give you your thoughts right away.
Well, clearly they're still looking for a trade. They weren't able to do it in the off season, which a $5.4 million cap hit. That's not surprising given these tough economic times.
Exactly.
But he showed up to train with his boys ahead of camp, and from the Young Stars tournament, Steve Tambellini said Sheldon Souray has been told not to come to camp. He's not welcome.
And he was told a week earlier.
Yeah, he says. Yeah,
well,
according to Tambellini, he said the week before we told him don't come to camp. So he shows up. It might have been a contract thing where he had to show up.
It might have been.
But he was talking a lot of, you know, it's a positive season and a lot of positive feeling around the rink and stuff. But if he knows he's not going to be a part of it, I don't know what that was all about. But
exactly.
Steve Tambellini says they're looking for a trade. They hope to trade him during training camp.
But I mean, they have to say that. What do they do now if they don't trade him, or does Tambellini have a mission to trade him by the end of training camp? Because by the end of training camp, Dale Cates is going to have to start paying his salary. What is that? Is that what happens? And if they don't trade him, what happens to Sheldon Souray?
You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, last season he was out of the picture a lot during all of the controversy because he just happened to be injured at the time, and then happened to get an infection in the injury, and you know, so that kind of kept this question at bay. But if they're really not going to have him as part of the team this year, I guess what they would do would be try and trade him,
yeah.
and then waive him, and maybe bringing him up on re-entry waivers will make it easier for.
Because then they only have to pay half. Whoever the team who picks him up only has to pay half of his salary, which at $2.25 million ish, he might be a bargain.
But with Sheldon Souray, he didn't have a great season for the Oilers last year. But he is a good player.
Yeah, he is.
And there are teams out there that could use what he brings to the table. It's just a case of, maybe it's a case of him showing that he's healthy, showing that he's, but.
Well, that's another thing that we could do. Some people are saying that maybe he should play, to try to up his trade value. Go 25 games in the season, see who has injuries around the league, and then maybe his trade value will have gone up by then. But if you do that, that means you let him into the locker room, and you've got a team that is starting over fresh. Do you want him like that in the locker room?
And you let a guy who talked a bunch of smack about your team back onto the team, and I think right now it's kind of that no one wants to give in.
Yeah.
Neither side wants to really give in, but I'm not really sure what will happen here.
Yeah.
Can they buy him out? I guess that might be another option.
That's a big cap hit.
Well, yeah, it's a big cap hit. It's a big cap hit if you leave him on the sidelines.
That's
too,
right.
So.
Funny stat of the day speaking about buyouts is the highest paid player on the New York Islanders this year, Alexei Yashin.
He had a good season last year.
Yeah, he did have a good season last year. Yeah, the highest paid player because of the buyout. So, there you go. That's what we think about buyouts.
Yeah, they can go wrong.
They can go wrong.
That's for sure.
So what we're going to do now is a new little section we're going to try on 15 Minutes of Fame here called Quick Hits. I'm going to ask a couple of questions, and Jim here is going to try to answer them quickly. We might get into a little bit of conversation as well, but here we go.
Let's see how it works.
We'll see how it works. Quick hits. I should put that along the bottom. Quick hits.
And it'll look cool if you do your hand like that too.
As it comes up.
Oh yeah.
We'll try that. Yeah. We'll see if it works. If I couldn't get it to work, then we'll just be talking.
Yeah.
Like
just imagine it.
Just imagine it here. Exactly. We may not be able to have that work. We'll see. So Usain Bolt of the 100-meter and 200-meter world records says he's probably going to retire after the London Olympics in 2012. Does this mean we're not going to see any more of Bolt's patented style, the old?
Oh, he's going to play soccer. He's going to play pro soccer. He's going to score. You think about it, all you got to do is set it down the middle. No one's going to beat him. No one's going to beat him.
No one's beating him there.
If he can shoot the ball, he's fine. And then you can see some of this in the...
the perfect soccer...
World's fastest goal.
World's fastest goal. Done. Joe Torre is going to retire from managing the Los Angeles Dodgers at the end of the year. He's been managing teams since 1977. Do you think he's going to retire for good?
I think it'll take a big offer from somewhere that'll win immediately to bring him back. I don't see him taking on a fix him up project at that age.
No, totally. He's got over 2,200 wins and is ranked 5th in the Major League Baseball all-time managerial wins. Is he an automatic first ballot Hall of Famer?
You'd have to think so.
You'd have to think so.
I mean, how many World Series does he have to his name?
A bunch.
A bunch.
Yeah. So
I think he's got to be.
Yeah.
He's one of the most well-known, well-respected guys out there.
Totally. He was with the Yankees for like 9 years and won a bunch of. Yeah, he's got to be in there. Don Mattingly, our friend Don Mattingly, is set to replace him already as the Dodgers, as the GM replacement. Will you be able to think of anything of when you think of Don Mattingly other than Mr. Burns asking him to shave his sideburns in The Simpsons?
Well, it depends if he has sideburns or not.
That's right. You better not show up for a day with sideburns.
I hope people still bug him about that. There's a part of me that hopes that people say to him when he doesn't have sideburns, shave those sideburns.
You'd have to, What?
I hope so.
Oh, good.
That'll make me sleep well at night if I know that happens.
If you know that happens, that's good.
Absolutely.
Thanks again for watching 15 Minutes of Fame. And there's our 15 minutes are up. Damn, already.
Until next week.
We'll be back again next week or the week after that. Take a look. In the meantime, visit anysportanytime.ca and visit Kersey's notebook.blogspot.com. Thanks again.